Hey everyone, and welcome to Smart Tutor. We're all used to those slick TV dramas with their flashing lights. But today, we're going to step into the real world of crime scene investigation. We're going to figure out how investigators can read a crime scene just like it's a story and use science to pull out the real truth.
Yeah, we've all seen it on TV, right? The detective finds that one single clue, and bam, the case is cracked in seconds. But is it really that simple? I mean, how do real-life investigators actually walk into a totally chaotic scene and, methodically piece together what happened? Well, that's exactly what we're going to get into today.
So to get to the bottom of it, we're going to follow the whole process from start to finish. First up, we'll learn how to see a scene as if it's telling a story. Then we'll meet the actual team that's responsible for reading it. After that, we'll walk through their step-by-step procedure, and finally, we'll see how they put all those pieces together to reconstruct what really went down.
All right, let's kick things off with Section 1, A Scene Tells a Story. The basic idea here, and it's a big one, is that every single crime scene is like a snapshot of a moment in time. It's just packed with information waiting for someone to come along and read it.
So you might be thinking, what is a crime scene exactly? Well, the simple definition is just the place where a crime happened. But for an investigator, it's so much more. It's like a historical record. It holds clues about everything that led up to the event, the critical moments during it, and even what happened right after, like how the bad guy got away.
I like to think of it like this. The crime is the center of a giant spider web. Everything, and I mean everything, connects back to it. You've got the victims, the suspects, what the witnesses saw, the timeline, and of course, all that physical evidence. The investigator's job is basically to trace all those sticky threads and find the links that show the whole picture.
Okay, but who are these people who are actually reading this story? Well, that brings us right into our second section, the investigative team. And let me tell you, it's not like on TV where it's just one genius detective. Nope, it's a whole team of specialists, and they each have very specific, very important jobs.
So this team is basically split into two key groups. On one side, you've got the Field Investigative Unit, your CSI team. These are the folks who are hands-on, right there at the scene. Their job is to secure it, document it, and collect everything. Then, all that stuff they so carefully packaged up, it goes to the crime lab scientists. They're the ones doing the deep dive analysis, running chemical tests, matching DNA, basically turning physical objects into cold, hard data.
Let's focus on that field team for a second, because their process is just so meticulous. First thing they do is secure the scene to make sure nothing gets contaminated. Then they photograph everything. I mean everything, before a single thing is moved. After that, they do a systematic search, and they collect evidence with incredible care. And maybe the most important part, they maintain what's called the chain of custody. Think of it as a diary for the evidence, an unbroken log of every single person who has handled it. That one document is absolutely vital to make sure the evidence can actually be used in court.
Okay, so how does this all actually play out in a real case? That takes us to Section 3, following the process. And believe me, this is not random guesswork. It's a highly structured procedure that's designed to make sure nothing, absolutely nothing, gets missed.
So the whole investigation really does follow this logical path. It all kicks off the second a crime is discovered. That calls in a first responder. Then the CSI team takes over, does their thing, securing the scene, collecting the evidence, sending it off to the lab for analysis. And all of this work, every single step, is building towards one final goal: reconstructing the crime.
Let's really zoom in on those first critical moments. A crime is discovered, maybe a witness calls 911, a victim reports it, or a patrol officer just happens upon it. That very first officer on the scene, the first responder, has a huge responsibility. Before anyone even thinks about evidence, their job is to help the injured, make the area safe, and, this is key, seal it off. Nothing comes in and nothing goes out. Period.
All right, once the scene is secure, the real search begins. And this is not just a casual stroll. Investigators use specific, proven patterns to be super thorough. For example, in a single room, they might do a spiral search, starting on the outside and working their way in. In a big outdoor area, they might use a line search, where a bunch of officers walk in a straight line together. And for a house with lots of rooms, they'll use a zone method, tackling one room at a time. The goal behind all of this is simple: miss nothing.
So what are they even looking for? Well, the range of what they call entities or evidence is just huge. It starts with the obvious stuff, right? People, objects like weapons, but it gets granular fast. They're looking for biological traces like blood, pattern traces like fingerprints, and even what they call microtraces. These tiny, tiny fragments of glass or paint, or even a single fiber that could literally be the key to cracking the whole case.
And this brings up a really interesting question, one I want you to think about. We've got all this potential evidence, from a footprint to a tiny fiber, but what gives it its real meaning? Is it just the object itself, or is there something more to it?
And that question leads us right into our final, and maybe the most important section of all, reconstructing the crime. This is the part where the investigators switch gears. They stop being just collectors of stuff, and they start being storytellers, using science to turn a jumbled pile of evidence into a clear sequence of events.
So here's the crucial point. Think about it. A bullet casing, by itself, is just a piece of metal, but a bullet casing found right next to a window, combined with the angle of a bullet hole in the opposite wall, now that tells you where the shooter was standing. The location, the context, it's literally everything. Without knowing exactly where something was found, its value for telling the story can plummet all the way down to zero.
And that brings us to the formal definition of crime reconstruction. And I want you to notice something really important here. It's not just about figuring out what did happen. It's also about figuring out what could not have happened. It's a process of elimination. You use the physical evidence to test out different theories and throw out the ones that just don't fit the facts.
Want to see this in action? Let's look at a quick, kind of strange case study. It all boils down to this question. Can a single hair tell a lie? Okay, so the story goes like this. An elderly woman finds some leopard hair on a cloth on her porch. Right away, her imagination just goes into overdrive. Is this some kind of weird death threat? A warning from a gang? She even considered, and you're not going to believe this, an alien invasion. To her, this piece of evidence was strange and frankly terrifying.
But the truth? Well, the truth, thanks to scientific reconstruction, was way simpler. The analysis of the hair, and just as importantly its context, proved that it actually came from a leopard skin rug that was inside her own house. It wasn't a threat. It wasn't aliens. It was just a piece of a rug. And that's the power of reconstruction. It separated a really scary story from a very simple fact.
And at the end of the day, this is the goal. All of that painstaking work, the careful collection, the hours in the lab, the interpretation of context, it's all done to answer those big, fundamental questions of any investigation. What happened? Who was involved? When did it happen? And how did it happen?
So if you remember just one thing from all this, let it be this. Real CSI is not about magic tricks or lucky guesses. It is a meticulous science of storytelling. It's about taking a totally chaotic scene, full of scattered clues, and carefully weaving them into a logical narrative. A story that is strong enough to stand up in court and deliver justice.
There's a famous forensic principle that says every contact leaves a trace. Whether it's a fingerprint on a glass or a single fiber on a carpet, something is always left behind. And that just leaves you wondering, doesn't it? What story is the next crime scene out there just waiting to tell? Hey, thanks so much for hanging out with us on Smart Tutor today. If you had fun untangling this stuff with us, do me a favor and hit that like button, and definitely subscribe to the channel for more explainers like this one. We really appreciate your support, and we can't wait to see you in the next one.